Raw and Smackdown officially have new rosters thanks to the WWE draft. Hey, Wrestfriends, my name is Iridian. Welcome to our recap show. I am joined by the host and creator of the Wrestling Winedown Podcast. Lo, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Super excited. This is the first time that you're officially on Wrestfriends, the YouTube channel. We are ready to go. You have been on the podcast and you do have a segment that you feature every week on there called The Lowdown. Talk to us a little bit about
The Lowdown.
Tell us about it.
So The Lowdown is a weekly segment on the Wrestfriends podcast where I just spill the wine or the tea, whatever you prefer to drink, on what has happened in the WWE for the week. So, there's some crazy stuff happening right now, and I feel like I need to cover it.
Yeah, you do. And there's a lot of wrestling that's going on always. But WWE is always here for the dramatics, and you're always telling us what's up. So thank you so much for that. And tell us about Wrestling Winedown. How did that come about?
So Wrestling Winedown was founded in 2019. It was me and my friend that founded it, and we wanted to have a female-founded and female-voiced wrestling podcast. So when we first started digging and researching to see what our podcast would be about, there wasn't a lot of female inspiration. It was a lot of guys talking about wrestling, and we just wanted to bring something new to the table, and we decided to combo wrestling with wine. And, people love to enjoy their alcoholic beverages, their adult beverages, while they're watching sports. So why not have wine while you're watching wrestling? So that's how Wrestling Winedown was founded. That's how the name came about, was just combining that, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. It's a great pairing, wine and wrestling. I feel like everyone needs to drink and watch wrestling at the same time, But
they need it sometimes.
Let's get into this draft. Starting with the rules. For the pool, there are more than 60 superstars, including men, women, and tag teams. For every 2 picks that SmackDown gets, Raw gets 3, because it's a 3-hour show compared to 2 hours. Team groups and factions count as 1 pick, but teams can be split up. And free agents are all undrafted superstars that can sign with either brand. I want to open up with the hot topic of the night, the biggest story of both draft nights, the New Day. The New Day is officially gone. How did you feel about this?
This was a dumb mistake by the WWE, and I've been reading up and seeing what people are saying about it. And a lot of people are saying that this is the most logical way that the WWE could break up the New Day, quote unquote, break up the New Day by splitting them with rosters instead of having, Big E go against Kofi and Xavier or what have you. But the New Day have been on top of their game for many years now. They're multiple-time tag team champions, and I don't think anyone expected them to be separated in the draft. I don't even think they expected to be separated in the draft. You saw Xavier Woods saying, say E's name. And here goes Stephanie McMahon. She does not say E's name. And I have never seen so many people on Twitter just in agreement of being so pissed off. Like, everyone was just wondering why. Like, why now, And I've obviously been a big fan of having Big E have his own singles run, but girl, why break up the tag team? And furthermore, Xavier Woods came back with Kofi to win the tag team championships, and then that's how you do their celebration. Unbelievable. I don't like it.
It's tragic. Big E was a singles competitor for a little bit because, Kofi and Xavier were out, but that Friday they came out and they were both together and they won the tag team belts. And then Stephanie comes and ruins the parade. Oh my God. We know that they're trying to push Big E, but I don't think they had to split the New Day in order to do this. I'm so heartbroken. And a lot of people were feeling the same. It was just not going well. I wonder what they're going to do with it now, because the New Day is officially on Raw, which is like the A show of the WWE. And I don't know what Big E's going to do by himself on SmackDown.
I think this is Big E's moment to shine. He's really been showing up and showing out in the ring in the past couple months, being a singles competitor. So I think this is like a survival of the fittest for him. He doesn't have his boys behind him now, and he really has to show what he's capable of. And we know he's capable. He did a great job in NXT. He's had a singles title before. He's had numerous tag team titles, as I said before, but we've all been wanting him to have his moment. We saw Kofi had his moment, and we just yearned for the moment that Big E finally got his moment. And I'm hoping with them, unfortunately, separating the tag team, that he's able to show why he's capable of having this singles run and why people are right about him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Let's talk about championships because the Street Profits and the New Day, the Street Profits are part of Raw and they're the Raw tag team champs. And on SmackDown, it was the New Day and they just showed up on Monday and they're like, well, we're both champs. We're just trading. Let's just give each other, each other's belts. What did you think about that?
That was strange. It's been weird with WWE lately, like the little decisions that they decide to do. We saw when they traded the Universal and the WWE championships, they swapped brands with those a couple of years ago. But a lot of people were asking, why not just unify the tag titles? And I had said this a couple weeks on our show, like, why not just unify the titles? And WWE decided not to do that. I guess they just wanted to do a switcheroo. But this draft made me realize more than ever that WWE is doesn't know what the they're doing when it comes to tag team. They've broken up, we'll talk about it, but they've broken up multiple tag teams in this draft. And I understand the rules. You have tag teams that can be drafted together or you have single superstars, but some of these, they just don't make sense.
I want to talk about the Hurt Business because the Hurt Business was drafted all together. This group that they just created, really, really new on Raw. And they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, as a whole group, you guys can go, but you're gonna break up the New Day, a New Day who's got crazy amount of championship title runs. They are loved. They sell so much merch, and just to draft the Hurt Business. What did you think about this?
I'm glad they drafted the Hurt Business together. This is a new faction that need to stay together, and it makes sense to build that strength and that character by keeping them together and having them on whatever roster. Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, I hate to say it, but they've really been lost in the fray when it comes to WWE for a while now. And once MVP was re-signed, I should say, and paired with those two, they really have some star power now, which I don't understand why they haven't had recently. Shelton Benjamin came back to the WWE. He tagged with Chad Gable for a while, but he never had that moment again like he had as a singles competitor. I can remember Shelton Benjamin climbing up that ladder and Money in the Bank a long time ago and him being with Charlie Haas as the world's greatest tag team. He has not had that same success in his second run in the WWE. So I'm hoping with him joining the Hurt Business with two other very talented men, or three, I should say, with Cedric Alexander, that he's able to have that moment again. Same with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was over here in a storyline with Lana and Rusev. He was supposed to be married to Lana. I was not feeling that storyline. And I think I told you before, we talked about on my podcast, but Bobby Lashley has always had this big man character. He's never had a strong character where you can point him out from someone else. He's always just been the strong guy. And I'm glad that he's in this faction because he could kind of build himself and learn from MVP, learn from Shelton Benjamin, the stuff that they've gone through, the stuff that they have seen in their career, and hopefully get out of this strong man character and build something else for himself.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. MVP, I think, is a great manager, and for them,
absolutely,
for him to be put in that position to control a faction that's as powerful as the Hurt Business is hopefully going to be great. Hopefully we'll see some title runs come from it. Let's talk about Drew McIntyre on Raw. Drew McIntyre, he's the WWE champion and Asuka is the Raw Women's champion and she stayed on Raw. AJ Styles also got drafted to Raw. Naomi, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler, who are the Raw Women's tag team champs right now. Mandy Rose, interesting pick because this was crazy how they went about it. They had The Miz and John Morrison involved in this. Little crazy, but Dana Brooke, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, they were also drafted to Raw. Some people from SmackDown, Roman Reigns. I love me some Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, and Sasha being on SmackDown together. I'm so excited for this. I am really excited for the women because now there's just so many more matches that can happen. I really want to see Sasha and Bianca together. That's the match
that
I really look forward to seeing in the future. What do you think? Who do you think has the better brand right now after the picks, Raw or SmackDown?
Uh, you know, I'm gonna go with Raw because SmackDown, I was looking at someone who had posted the draft like picks during the night, and it showed Raw, SmackDown, um, it showed the NXT roster as well, which they weren't included in the draft, and then the unsigned people. SmackDown had like three people at one point. They had Sasha, they had Bianca, and they had Bailey. And I'm over here like, what are we doing? Did we forget about the woman? And then on Raw, you have this big ass roster. And it's like, what are we doing here? You know, I also didn't understand the whole thing about drafting people to the roster that they were already on. That was a little bit much because then you're like, well, weren't they on Raw already? Um, but I am glad to see Naomi move to Raw. We saw a little tease from MVP saying that he wants her a part of the Hurt Business or instigating, so to speak. And I think the Hurt Business needs a woman in the group. I want to see Naomi turn heel. You know, I've mentioned for a long time, yes, I'm serious. Naomi, girl, she could feel the glow as a heel. She could feel the glow as a heel. She is deserving of her moment. The last year of her career has been upsetting, and she definitely had her championship reigns on SmackDown, but they weren't to what they should have been for someone that's been there for 10 plus years. So I'm almost hoping that her moving to Raw is a rebirth. You know, she has one of the best characters in the WWE right now. Let her shine, let her glow, let my girl glow.
I hope that they really do something with Naomi. I don't know how I feel about her like becoming a heel. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I would like want a heel turn from Naomi, but I do agree with you that like they missed out on so many opportunities with Naomi. I go back to the Royal Rumble moment where she came out and that pop, like, oh my God, it was just so iconic. And that moment that she had her Bianca, I think Charlotte was also in the ring. It was just like something that,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this woman is like great. She's so powerful. It became like it was viral that moment when she came back, and it wasn't just appealing to people who are already fans. It was beyond wrestling. People were like, oh, who's this girl? I want to watch
Mm-hmm.
wrestling. I want to watch her now. Like she's amazing, and she really
Right.
so I hope that we do get the glow belt back. Like that's a belt that I would look forward to having, and I want her as a champion. So hopefully we'll see that. But like Asuka's the champion right now, so we'll see how they have to include that into the story. I found that
Mm-hmm.
it was like really, I don't want to say like it was weird that they didn't include NXT this year. What were your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure why they did it like that. I don't know if they really want to keep NXT separate at this point because, you know, they're trying to push it as NXT is just like Raw and SmackDown. But those moments that we've seen before, you know, bringing NXT talent up has been career breaking moments. We've seen Carmella called up, we've seen Bailey, we've seen Sasha, we've seen all these female and male superstars being called up because they were a part of this draft, and now we're not getting this moment. And you could also say that WWE is for once being smart with their talent. You know, we've talked about for a long time that WWE seems to hoard talent on their main roster, and then you have half your roster that isn't being utilized and they're in catering, you know? So I'm hoping that WWE is starting to learn their lesson with this and figuring, well, you know, we have these NXT superstars. They're doing a good job on this brand, or maybe we can start building them up on the NXT brand. Let's just leave them there. I think while it is kind of disappointing that the NXT superstars weren't involved, it could be a good thing at the end of the day because then we don't have, you know, our favorite superstar sitting in catering wondering where they are. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that with NXT, it was smart of them not to use them because there is something different this year, and that's AEW. And they're on the same nights on Wednesdays. And in order to compete, I really think that they have to build up the talent that they already have there.
Hmm.
Maybe I wouldn't have been surprised if they took someone from the main roster and put them back because they've done that with
I would have liked to see that. Yeah.
to kind of build up more of the names. But I really do think that it's smart because I don't want to see, you know, Johnny Gargano on the main roster. Adam Cole, maybe not yet, but you know, there's a lot of people on NXT who have said that if they do get moved up to the main roster, like they don't want to, they want to stay in
Hmm.
NXT and be built as an NXT talent. I think that's great because a lot of people for the longest time thought that NXT was just like, oh, developmental. If you start off in
Right.
just like practicing, training, and now you're kind of like building it up. Like, okay, NXT is its own thing. what was crazy was that Raw Underground was like all up in this draft. Stephanie McMahon was like, from Raw Underground, we have, I don't even know who that guy was.
It was Daka Kato. He has been, it was Dabakato. See, honestly, I don't know why they included Raw Underground. Like,
Make any sense to me.
what were we thinking? I mean, unless they're really trying to push these superstars from Raw Underground, I really don't see the point of putting them on Raw. Like, isn't Raw a part of Raw Underground? So why are we drafting people?
I was so confused. And then I was like upset that Shane McMahon wasn't also drafting people. Like, because I thought it was just fun. Do you remember when Shane was like on SmackDown and Stephanie was on Raw and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to
right.
There was like that bickering that they would have. And now it was just Stephanie saying, all right, well, here's who we're picking and here's who's going on SmackDown. And I was like, oh, a little bit anticlimactic for me, but it was fine. Like,
you know, I miss the WWE draft days when I first started watching, when they had like the little thing that would go around and around. You would try and figure out which superstar was going to stop on. Like, that's the shit I lived for. Like, first of all, it was on, I think it was like 1 or 2 nights. They went right through them. There was no internet picks at this time, because they did a lot of picks over over Twitter, over social media this time. That was not a thing back in 2007, 2008. They did all that stuff on TV. And if they did pick someone after the fact, it was on WWE.com.
Yep. Later on. And you know what? They did some of that on Twitter. They were like, oh, I think Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott got drafted on Twitter. And I was like, why? Why wouldn't you just show it? It would have been like 5 seconds for you to say like, oh, these are the people that were, drafted. I don't know. It was okay. It was okay for me overall.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with these superstars on these different brands. You know, there's a lot of superstars that I'm really like confused about, like them breaking up Tucker and Otis. I don't know why we would do that at this point. Back to my point earlier about them breaking up tag teams. Like, who is going to be challenging for these tag team titles if you're breaking up all your tag teams? Like, you need to have that division strong so these tag teams can compete for the titles. Same thing, we've seen Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. They're broken up now. Billie Kay is not even on a brand. She's a free agent, along with other women such as Mickie James. I don't understand how Mickie James did not get drafted. I know she has a broken nose, which is maybe why they did not draft her, but she's a multiple-time women's champion. She's still good. Why? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the logic, where is it, WWE? Where is it?
Oh, you bringing that up just reminded me of Charlotte. So Charlotte got drafted. And I was like, Charlotte ain't even here. What do you mean? And you're not going to draft Mickie James? Exactly. Like, what are the priorities here?
Well, you also have to think about Charlotte is a really popular WWE superstar right now. That could also be why they drafted her. We haven't seen Charlotte in 7 years, but she has that fan appeal that will bring her back. Shit, I'm surprised we didn't see Becky Lynch drafted at this point. Like,
they should have just mentioned all the 4 horsewomen and called it a night. They're like, you know what? We're here to draft the women, and that's it.
I do have a question for you.
Oh.
How do you feel about Retribution being drafted to the show that they've attacked this whole time?
You know what? I feel like they really have to have some plans for them, because Ali is great. And I did like how they brought back the fact that, okay, Ali would wear a mask. So they have a lot of people in Retribution wearing masks. And I'm like, all right, that story checks out. Like, okay, I get it. But Stephanie was just like, oh, well, get ready for this next pick. Your Retribution is on Raw. I was like, what? I mean, but like, even if
damn, how much more merchandise, how many more superstars do they need to attack on your brand before you say, you know what, we probably shouldn't have them on our brand? I mean, I know it's storyline, but a lot of people online were like, put 2 and 2 together. Like, how does this make sense? And I'm the same way. I'm like, if y'all are so against having them on Raw, like, they're causing so much terror, like, why did you not just draft them to SmackDown? It would also lengthen that story out, because it's like, well, these superstars were attacking everyone on Raw. They were, causing havoc. Are they going to do the same on SmackDown, or are they okay on SmackDown? That would have been interesting, but I don't know. I think Ali brings a lot to the table, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him as the leader of this group, as well as the superstars that are involved. But the story, it needs some work, honey. It needs some work.
I really hope that there is like a graduation program in Retribution where like you graduate and you get your own name. So like, Ali, like he's already a graduate. This man like has a PhD, so he gets to keep his name Ali. And a T-Bone, maybe he can get his actual name,
Like little T-Bone, T-Bar. What are the other ones? Like,
what did they want to call
Mia Yim and Mercedes Martinez did not spend their whole lives on the indies to get up to the WWE to be called Wrench or Screwdriver. I'm just saying.
Some of the choices, yes, they were extremely sketchy. Sami Zayn is on SmackDown. Daniel Bryan, Lars Sullivan. I have the biggest issue with this man. Also, Matt Riddle got drafted to Raw. I didn't know that they were continuing to push Matt Riddle, but here we are. And Lars Sullivan also. I just don't understand some of these picks. At this point, I was like, oh, okay, we're like drafting these people. Is Velveteen Dream gonna get called up? Who knows? He could have been.
Okay. First of all, with this whole Lars Sullivan thing, we knew he was injured, and a lot of people back in March were saying, they're releasing people. Like, are you gonna,
Don't do anything
like that with Lars Sullivan? And he did not. And I'm not saying that anyone deserves to lose their job, because that's a horrible thing. But Lars Sullivan has done some dirty in the WWE before he was in the WWE and currently, and he has had no reprimanding. And now he's back. No one gives a shit, to be honest with you. Like, everyone is more concerned about why he's back than him actually being back. And not even 2 days after he's back on the roster, he's DMing girls on the internet. Like,
you sent me this.
Sir,
are you kidding me? You just didn't learn. He just didn't get it. Human resources did not call him. I don't think anyone called him. There is rumors that like people backstage in like the locker room just don't like him. He just doesn't people the right way. And I totally get it. Like, this man is inappropriate. He's a terrible person. And I don't think he should be like rewarded. He should not be on this. Like, why would you? And then he came out in the night. I was like, no.
You know what concerns me is that Lars Sullivan was drafted before a lot of other superstars, which kind of just didn't make any sense to me. So Lars Sullivan was drafted before Sami Zayn, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode, Carmella, Aleister Black. Like, read.
What are you doing?
The room. Read the room. Like, you see that this guy has been a constant problem on your roster, and it doesn't matter if this stuff happened 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. He's still been an issue. And clearly he has not learned his lesson with using the internet, because he's back at it again. So I don't get it. I mean, I saw online the same report that, he has one fan in particular who is actually the person that makes the final say on if he stays in the WWE or not. So that will be the deciding factor.
I really want to know who that person is. Like,
you know who it is? It's Vince McMahon, baby.
I'm here for the cheese, man. Like, I want to know what those conversations are. I don't know if the draft was needed. I was like excited for it, but like, was it a must watch for me? Like, no. How did you feel about the draft?
I unfortunately felt the same. It doesn't feel like it used to. It doesn't feel exciting, I think most of the hype around the draft really got increased when the New Day broke up. I think that's why a lot of people might have tuned in that next Monday to see what would happen, just because that big bombshell was dropped on Friday. But, a lot of these moves weren't anything shocking. And I don't know. I think the order of how they drafted people really says a lot, because like you said, we have superstars that are injured, or superstars that were injured for months and just came back from injury, being drafted before superstars that have been busting their ass for months now, through quarantine, through everything. They've been here, and they were still drafted after people that just came back from injury that do not have the same star power as them.
Yeah. I'm telling you, if Shane was there, we would have had a whole different draft. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel like when we were younger, it was different. Maybe it's also that COVID and there's no fans in the crowd to like cheer or boo and kind of really react. And WWE is kind of like putting in the sounds for you. So when somebody gets drafted, there's automatic cheers. Like, what if I didn't like that person? I wouldn't have cheered. I was gonna boo, you know? There's never any booing. And I don't know. That's how I feel about it. It's just like, blah. But I am excited for some of the matches that are to come. Like, who's going to fight Asuka? You know, who's going to challenge Bailey? These are all the champions that could possibly change. How, Hell in a Cell is coming up, and that could
Right.
all change in a minute. Who knows?
I'm looking forward to seeing the matches as well. It was very shocking on Monday seeing the number one contenders match for Asuka's Raw Women's Championship and Lana winning. I don't think anyone expected Lana to win. Many people thought that Natty was going to pick up the win, which would have been deserved, but Lana ended up winning. And this really leaves a question mark for some people because they definitely didn't think that Lana would be in the title picture at this point. They've been pushing her with Natty as this tag team, and now they're broken up. Here's another tag team getting broken up. And now the same night, she's being pushed as a singles competitor to face off against the Raw Women's Championship. I mean, I'm sure it'll bring some cheese made to the WWE. Maybe she'll do a TikTok in the ring while she's facing off against Asuka. I don't know, but I thought Bianca would have won if Bianca would have still been on Raw. That would have been a really good match because they've really been hyping up Bianca lately. But I think she'll challenge for Bailey's championship, or so I hope.
I hope so. I was not expecting Lana to win. Lana, I was like, girl, I thought you were eliminated. You got put through a table. I didn't even notice when she was like outside of the ring. And when it came down to Natty and Lacey, I was like, dang, these are our final two. Like like Lacey and Natty. I was like, okay, I guess maybe Natty's a vet. Lacey, they might, who knows? And I was like, are you kidding me? When Lana came out, I'm like, how are you going to put Lana ahead of all of these other women who have more like street cred, who have more wrestling ability? Not to say that like Lana's a terrible wrestler. I just think she's like better as a manager. I do like her better as a manager.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing that Lana does have that a lot of other WWE superstars might not have is, I know I jokingly said it earlier about her using TikTok, but it's that crossover thing. The Bella Twins have had it and they've done really well with it, but Lana is really starting to do that as well. She's really big on TikTok and, she's done collabs. I don't know if she will anymore since there's no third party stuff, but she's been rocking that Fashion Nova girl and she's been making her check from Fashion Nova. And I think that's what WWE wants. They want that crossover effect so their superstars are on all platforms, but they also want to get some of their money from those superstars as well. So maybe that's why they're pushing her, because she has that crossover effect.
Yeah, she's not a terrible wrestler. She just, I feel like, needs a little bit more. And when Mickie James was taken out of the picture, I think they kind of scrambled and they were like, well, what else can we put up here that we've kind of built up that people are okay with this all of a sudden? Do I think she's going to win? No. But, it's WWE. They've surprised us before. They've had crazier storylines going back to the Bobby Lashley. Who knows? But Lo, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Talk to me about Wrestling Winedown. Where can our Rest friends find everything Wrestling Winedown related?
So Wrestling Winedown is available on all your favorite streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. Tweet us. Let us know what you think about, anything wrestling related. We want to hear from you guys. And yeah, we have new episodes up every week.
And you guys really do need to listen to it because Lo is just great at interviewing, extremely professional. Love her so much. She has been a supporter of us on. She's my friend. I talk to her every day. Vouching for Lo. Okay, guys? I love
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, Lo. And thank you,
Thank
Wrestling
you.
Friends. We will see you next episode.